Whoa.
Okay. We actually doing something? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Show my face to the world. This is 780, 90, 90, 80. What is it? I don't know. Okay. There we go. I was like, where's my face? Edit video. I'm true. No, it's not for children. 30, no, 54, 54, 54. I'm not gonna lie, reading about this stuff with the retailer variants in real time was kind of crazy.
Ooh, I think that's, as somebody who works in retail, interesting. Interesting.
Did y'all get an
But
email about that at all?
not from my knowledge. I'm gonna have to ask John and see if he got any news or anything like that.
Okay.
Which luckily I see him every Wednesday.
Uh,
I feel like that's not too bad though. 5 times the cover price and then 10 times if it's autographed.
I probably should tell folks that we are live. That'll probably be advantageous of me. So apparently they've issued a picture of Mitch McConnell alive.
I doubt that. Like somebody's putting up a bounty for it.
No, like they released a picture of him like in the hospital getting better, and I'm like, that's his wife. Didn't isn't his wife in China? Like didn't she didn't she like hop a flight? Is she already back?
I mean, it's possible she's already back, but like that don't line up with nothing that I've heard.
Also, like man went under cardiac arrest at his age. You don't just bounce back from that. The same day Lindsey Graham dies, you put that out. That seems a little concerning that you made the effort to put that out in the ether. I don't know about that one, Chief. Like that's an interesting choice to do. Oh, the Reds. Yeah, man. Like I like that this like today's episode is more industry based because it is real interesting to see how things have been developing over the past week. Because people just be saying the darndest things, and it's
So
like
I don't give faith to Google AI, but Google AI says that she came back early September from like CBS News. Sorry, not September, July.
September. It's not. I was like,
July.
what?
I don't know why I got September on the mind. I know why. I'm doing a Stardew festival in September.
Let's see. I'm going to Baltimore Comic Con, so
Hey,
you should come too.
I'm gonna try to get that planned. I'm gonna see what I can do for Delta trips or flights on Delta.
Well, stuff's super cheap right now, so if you're gonna do it, you better hop on it now before shit shoots back up.
Amen on that, because gas already went back up.
I got it for 318 at Costco yesterday. I was very
Ooh,
thankful.
lucky. Ours just hit 3.99. Right under that $4, like they like to keep it now.
Ooh. They're releasing a Batman spray? Oh, God.
A Batman Sprite?
Yeah, because of the sprites that are in Fortnite right now, the little, like, cube-looking motherfuckers.
I was
Because they
thinking
have a new
like
summer
a
Batman
collab with
skin coming.
Coca-Cola, and they were going to do like a Sprite collab. That's what I was thinking.
That'd be nice. I'd be down for that. We get public chat open. I got so distracted by the fucking Lindsey Grimm and Mitch McConnell show. I forgot to post about the podcast. What am I doing?
Got me looking over there too. Let's get to public chat. There we go.
I'm just like, hey man, dude's supposed to be dead. I'm just saying, motherfuckers just don't bounce back from stuff like that. All right, posted that. Go over to Threads and do the same thing. No, wait, I don't want that. There we go. All right, that's going. Those are up and about. Wasn't too difficult to get those pop locking and polka dotting. You want to see something really sexy, B?
Let's see it. Oh, I'm jelly. I'm jelly. That looks so good. I can't wait for my mail to hopefully be here in like 2 days, because then I might have something for next episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, meeting Bendis was really cool. That was a dope experience.
Able to ask him any hard-hitting questions?
I wasn't really focused on any questions or anything. I was more like, I'm just here for the experience. And like, he did say once he gets back to California next week, he'll want to come on the show. So that was cool.
Hey, so, that'll be another great interview right there.
Oh, for sure.
Which, like, I think I'm going to start doing on, like, Thursdays is live streaming your interviews that you do, so that way more people can, like, listen to it. Because I did that yesterday. Yeah, yesterday with your Rodney Barnes interview and your Ace Blade one. And, like, I had so many people just popping in and hanging out and listening to the interview. And I'm like, damn, I need to get you guys, like, over onto the podcast on this one, because, like, it works somehow.
Yeah.
Got some more people onto Bitter Roots too, surprisingly. And you guys only maybe talked about that for like 2-3 minutes in the podcast at most, or in your interview.
We definitely gonna get. And then tomorrow, I'm sitting down with some of the different shop owners from the Ink Alliance to talk about what they got going on.
Hey. It's gonna be dope.
Interesting to talk to them about this article from Bleeding Cool, because that might complicate future plans. Because what I find interesting about this, and we'll get into it, is this idea that DC is trying to restrict and control all communication between the retailers and the artists. I'm like, why?
It feels odd. And then, like, I just think it's going to stop them from selling the stuff in the comic book shops. That's almost kind of how it feels to me, to where they can be like, oh, I'll just go make a Whatnot account now and then sell it there.
We're going to get into that. Oh, shit. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for Comics Unmasked, the podcast where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are back for episode 54. That is right, folks, 54. We are back, and this week is very awesome because there's been a lot of industry news the past few days. There was one little bit of like media news with like a really interesting piece of art that dropped but we will also get into that here in a minute. But don't forget, folks, that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all those great places. Make sure that you rate and review the show on Apple and Spotify because we are sitting at 4.8 stars on both platforms. And the more you boost us in the algorithm, the more people can find the show. This is the show where we do interviews with creators, we talk about the industry, we try to give our opinions and unmask and like reveal the actual truth about things. So definitely sit down here and talk with us because a lot of it ends up being things that I educate B about. A lot of things end up being us like actually trying to educate you guys about like what we know and what we've heard from folks in the industry. There was the most idiotic person the other day in my comment section who was trying to tell me how like I was wrong for about how digital versus physical works and that they work in the industry and that like I'm wrong and yada yada. And I'm like, okay, bro. Okay. Like, that don't make no damn sense. But we are gonna be like talking about some stuff today. Don't forget, folks, that you can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, all those great places. My name is JP. To my left, we have the man who has tamed the fro. He is no longer Afro Baggins. He is chilling with the whole wrap on. How you doing, B Rex?
I'm doing good. We were eating good this week as comic book fans. I walked into the shop and I realized I had like 12 different issues, one issue from each company. And so, like, everything too was so good from Ben 10 to Pimp Killer to the Doctor Who, like, little anniversary thing that they did. I was so well fed for reading this week. I was so happy.
Okay, okay. Love to hear that. So let's go ahead and dive into the nuttiness. Let me actually turn off the music because I'm an idiot. Left that on. It's gonna be a fun intro. You'll hear a little bit of music in that because I forgot to turn that off. I'm gonna see if I can do the noise. Matter of fact, let's redo the intro because I'm just that butt headed. What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for Comics Unmasked, the podcast where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are back for episode 54. We are going to be talking about a bunch of different industry stuff, a bunch of different awesome things that have been going on, a little bit of controversy in a space. So we're going to go ahead and dive all into that. Don't forget, folks, that you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Audible, iHeartRadio, all those great places. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, all those awesome places as well. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple because it moves us up the algorithm. That way people can find us. But we're going to go ahead and jump into folks. To my left, we have the brother with the tame fro. Finally, is no longer Afro Baggins. B, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I had no time to pick out the hair this morning because I had too many comics to read this week. I was eating way too good and reading way too much, and I had no other time for anything else. I let other responsibilities like getting to work on time go to waste. But hey, that's why they give me a 10-minute window, right? I can
There
wake
you
up a little
go.
bit late.
Love that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. So first thing, we'll start light. We'll start with the like media based thing that was kind of fun first before we get too into the nitty gritty and the nonsense. First thing up on the docket, Andy Park, the former art director for Marvel Studios, decided he was like, you know what, I no longer work for them. I can do what I want. So I'm going to drop the concept art for Avengers Doomsday. And honestly, this kind of raised a lot of questions, a lot of concerns for a lot of individuals, myself included. And looking at this, I'm oof. Like this looks dope, but I'm also sitting here like this is concerning. First of all, the idea that Steve Rogers is so prominent is already kind of getting me frustrated. The idea that there is not a drop of melanin in the X-Men. There's more blue than the X-Men than there is melanin.
They decided the Smurfs were going to be a thing for the X-Men this time. They wanted to really diversify the crew, and they said that the Smurfs would do.
It's like this is how we meet our quota for people of color. We go blue. That's
There
what
we
we're
go.
doing.
They really said, "You wanted color? We'll give you the color blue." There you go.
Ah, brother is and then Shang-Chi's kind of just sitting in the corner. He's just like, I'm here, I exist.
I did that movie that one
Freaking
time.
Shuri and Baku are there. Um, Scott's there, but no sign of old girl.
Wasp,
Hope's not here.
no.
That's kind of concerning. Um, why is Sam and Joaquin up in the corner and not more front and center is beyond me. Your Captain
I'm
America is off in the corner. Make it
I'm
make
confused on
sense.
why they also have Captain America up over the Fantastic Four to where it would make more sense to have him on the left-hand side of the picture and stuff like that. So,
Mm.
artistry, little off there, unless, like, for some reason, Sam's gonna be teaming up with the Fantastic Four, which is in a completely different universe, except for some reason at the end of the movie, they ended up appearing back into our universe
Well,
for
that's
what
what we
was that?
saw from the teaser is that somehow the Wakandans and Namor are going to meet up with the Fantastic Four. So the idea is going to be that they travel to our dimension to deal with this Doomsday ish. So we'll see. But I'm also kind of sitting here like, seems like Captain America's being pushed to the side just for Steve Rogers to come back, and I'm already like,
Yep.
I don't like it. It's
Also,
ve-
how are they gonna bring him back? That's the thing that's still gonna have me so tied up this entire time is being like, you guys ended it as well as you could. Like, I would honestly say it's the perfect ending to Steve Rogers' story and all of that other
mm,
jazz. But like, why bring him back for this? Why bring him back for this? And then, like, at the end of the day, if you guys really feel like Sam can't do it because he's not super powered, then just give him superpowers. Like, th- I don't know why
I've
he
always
needs to
been
be here.
against that, man. Because he doesn't even have the super soldier serum in the comics. So it's like when people are like, "Oh, just give Sam the serum." Why can't Sam have the serum? Because he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the serum to be an amazing superhero. And it's just
Oh,
like,
and I'm not saying that he needs it to be an amazing
eh,
superhero. I just know everybody has their like gumptions about it. So it's an easy thing to write in there to just be like, oh, he took
mm,
the serum off screen. Like
right.
something easy, simple to give the people like to shut up to be like, he can do everything Steve can do because he now has the serum. Because he's been able to do it. He's done it.
Mm,
I watched the last Captain America movie. He ended up going against the Hulk. Don't get me wrong. He got his butt whooped during that process during some couple
mm.
times, but he did what he needed to do as Captain America.
Mhm. It's gonna be interesting because, like, now we're even, like, going back to, like, short-haired Thor with more of a muted color palette and now not as much gold prominently. The idea that, like, where it's like, yeah, Steve has the hammer. Steve's just had the hammer man now that, like, he doesn't have the shield. He's just walking around with Mjolnir. Loki conveniently shadowed in the background, under Doom. I'm very interested in that. That is going to be very topical. But I think what a lot of people were kind of in agreement on when it comes to this is the fact that this poster, this like concept art that was kind of leaked, quote unquote, is the most we've seen of this movie. And the movie comes out what, September, December, or something like that.
Yep.
They're gonna have stuff potentially at San Diego Comic Con, but where is the movie? Where is anything? I'm very confused as to where the Avengers are, and it feels like that there's a lack of confidence for this project.
It feels that way because normally Disney's all about like, oh, here's our next property, here's our next property, here's our next property. Which don't get me wrong, they're probably putting a lot of funding into Spider-Man right now. We still got
Mm,
until the end of July until that comes out. But I this is supposed to be the movie after, so I would have expected like sometime during the World Cup, sometime during some
mhm,
other time that they would have maybe released something here and there to like tease it a little bit more instead of like an artist on what is this, Twitter? Yeah, an
Like, well, no,
artist.
the one, no, like, it's on, yeah, it's on Twitter, but like the
Yeah,
artist was the previous visual director for Marvel. So like he just threw this up like, screw it, what they gonna do? Fire me again? So he just like,
exactly, and so it was just like, I might as well just do it? And I really wanna see more Shang-Chi. That's just really what it is too. I think that he's gotten really, like, just lowballed for only getting 1 movie in the past, like, 5
mm,
years, and it was a good movie too, gave me that, like,
mhm,
Jackie Chan vibe almost with some of the scene cuts that were put into there, and I was like, "Man, my grandma woulda loved this." She used to watch
mm.
all the Jackie Chan stuff.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully, they finally pull the trigger and give us some more information at Comic Con. But I just between the whole Downey is Doctor Doom, and the lack of promotion, the lack of like synergy. I'm just like, this is gonna be a really interesting movie, and I'm very concerned as to how this is gonna end up. But we will see.
Fingers
I'm
crossed that it's good. That's
yeah.
all I hope for. I hope my money's worth.
Yeah, it's very much like, oh dear. So next thing up on the docket is we had the announcement that I actually covered this. Comics Wellspring, the folks who have been very prominent when it comes to being a print on demand service for a lot of different indie comic books, had came out basically and were like, hey, we're gonna be shutting down temporarily and we're gonna refund you your stuff, and if you need help when it comes to printing, feel free to reach out to our previous founders, Greco Printing. But we can't help you. That was their idea. Was they straight up were like, we're done. We're not doing nothing for a while because the way they said, we sincerely apologize, but due to unforeseen operational challenges, Comics Wellspring, owned and operated by Carta Finishing, must temporarily suspend accepting new orders and halt production at this time. Any orders that have not been completed will be fully refunded. Our team will be reaching out to affected customers additional information in the near future. Over the past week, we have been working with the original founders of Comics Wellspring, Greco Printing, to remove previous non compete restrictions that would prevent them from printing comic books. As a result, they are once again able to print comic services. So, this is interesting. They're not the only like printing service out there for comic books, but this also puts a lot of folks into a bind. I covered it and even talking about the fact that Comics One, which is a platform that has been really focused on making sure that there is like an indie backing for different comic books. They even rolled out their own new partnership in the wake of this announcement that they're working on like making a bigger thing about it soon. But they even said they're like, "Hey, we're cutting ties with Comics Wellspring. We're not messing with them no more. We have a new partner." And they're even like, we're expanding it into even allowing graphic novels to be published. But this puts a lot of people into a bind. Like I must say, Danny Quick, we previously interviewed him for Ace Play number 10. He gave me a quote about this where it's basically like, this puts a lot of comic creators into a bind. This puts a lot of folks who are entering con season and leaves them with no options. And I'm sitting here like, that's real short notice to just drop everything. Like, I'm wondering what the unforeseen challenges were. I'm wondering what could they have been doing that just makes them halt all of their production and just refund orders. Like, did something blow up? Did they not like have the machines to print this stuff? Like, what could you possibly have done to where you don't have access to or the ability to print this stuff?
Right, it's concerning at that point, just for the comic book community alone. I'm just thinking about the fact that, like, you have so many new creators that are jumping into the space, especially in, like, this year alone. I see so many people that are really trying to put their hands to paper and try to make something new, and I'm pretty sure that a few of the comics that I was looking at probably came through this company, and this is a probably a good reason why they were like, "Hey, we're having to backtrack and figure something out, and we'll, reroute a few things and let everybody know, what's happening." And so it concerns me in the manner that I feel like this shortchanges newer creators. Obviously, they're going to have a harder time getting into the space now, especially because con season's popping up, like they were just saying. That's super important to new comic book creators at this point because that's how you're going to get it into people's faces like us who are then going to talk about it and then post it online, and then it hopefully ends up getting some kind of traction, and then next year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you have something like this stop you in the creative process, especially when it's not you, that's going to be extremely frustrating. And I'm going to say some people are going to just jump off of it and not even want to try again because they're going to be like, what's going to happen next? The next comic book company that I try printing with just says that they're going out of business for some random reason and doesn't give me in my opinion, a good explanation.
Mm.
Feels icky.
It does feel very icky, and like there was even talks on let's say I saw on Facebook recently and threads this past week that some of the people who had orders with them just straight up weren't getting refunded and they had to issue chargebacks with their bank. So this isn't really the greatest look for them. And like my thought also is that what if you try to come back? Is anyone going to be interested in your product? Because if you try to come back, especially in this kind of situation where financially you left people hanging during one of the busiest times of the year, is anyone even going to want to look at your direction? So that is
Mhm.
definitely a concern in my book. I'm very much looking at this like, you might have just like messed up your bag for the future by not giving people more notice, not like giving like completing the orders that you had ongoing. And it's like at the very least, I feel like if you took folks, it's kind of like there was a situation recently with CGC where they said, "Hey, we're not taking any more orders. We're not taking like we'll fulfill the orders that have been sent to us, but we're not taking no more orders." And I feel like that would have been a better response instead of
Mhm.
we're just going to refund you. Like especially during con season where so many individuals have reached out to you and they're saying, "Hey, we need this like stuff to like actually make sure we can go to conventions and service our customers and be able to get our names out there." That would have been the better response, being like, "Hey, after this date, we're not accepting any more orders. We're not going to do anything else." But like, because that would have at least given people more of a notice to look for more options. But look at like in Danny's case, Danny has an ongoing Kickstarter. Now he has to go out of his way to find a new printer. Or like other individuals that have like Kickstarters or different campaigns they were prepping for, or conventions, they're just ass out right now because of the situation, and it leaves them in a really compromised position.
Yeah, yeah. I the only way I could see this being, like, a reasonable thing is if they came out and were like, "All of our printers exploded." That's the only
Yeah.
acceptable reason I could see it, is to where all of our printers exploded and we're figuring out a backup, because I remember something happened with Marvel's printings, like, a few months back to where something similar happened to where there was, like, a pause in their printing, so they had to end up doing a few different things, and it ended up coming out a week later, and
Mm,
most people are reasonable about that. If you have to say there's a delay in our books, we're gonna be okay about that, but just to
right.
shut down services, though, it it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Mhm. It feels very like, why get people's hopes up? Why make them believe you can service them and commit to it? Because like this kind of reminds me of the diamond situation from a few years ago, where as a distributor, the largest distributor there is, and you just went, nah, we good, fam. Like we ain't worried about that. Like it's just it feels rather icky. It feels like I think that you framed it the best way possible. It feels icky and disrespectful to a lot of these individuals who had invested in this company, who had put their time and effort to raise the funds. And there like I said, there's plenty of printing services. They even like, hey, reach out to Greco. And I'm wondering also like the idea that you had a non-compete with your previous founders and made it to where you're the only ones who can focus on printing comic books from the two groups. I'm sitting here like, mm, that's a bad look, like that's a really interesting look right there.
I can see it as, like, the business decision of trying to make money, but that's the issue, is to where once you put it down to that bottom line of only making money, you then almost feel like you run across this issue we're having right now, to where kinda blue-balled other people from helping you out in tight situations, and now you have to completely scramble and rework your company. It's
Yeah,
almost how it feels.
it's very interesting when you're like, ooh, hey, you have no hope, you have nothing, and now you're the ones who have to pick up the pieces while we run away. And it's like, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, these different indie folks are able to bounce back, because it would really suck if they weren't able to. But to kind of spin like more into the topic of indie publishers, I want to talk about like this entire situation that's been unfolding over the weekend and just up recently, because not only did this kind of also spin out of DC So White and like the blackout and whatnot, and the campaign, the boycott. But also this past weekend, we have everyone who's at DreamCon right now, which was very large, like Black nerd convention, very focused on just uplifting the community and stuff like that. And there was this post as well as a art piece that was put out by a different like a comic creator. But the question was asked by a lot of folks is that how can all those blurs be at DreamCon, yet so many Black creators struggle to sell their comics and fund their Kickstarters? And there was like I shared my thoughts, but I also uploaded this picture that was shared on Facebook from a couple different like Black comic groups, where this caricature is basically showing a Black woman, super large hoops in the ears, a Stay Woke T-shirt, and she's basically like, "Hey yo, f the crappy representation that Disney's trying to give us. Why we need to make sure we're supporting Black creatives and like build our own stories and ideas of our own." But then she don't want to support some random $5 Black owned comic book. And this entire issue has been kind of been a talking point for some time because there was a lot of people who were like, "Hey, why are you worried about DC? Why don't you come support our books?" And we said a big part of what we're doing with the boycott was also to direct people's dollars to Black indies, or the fact that we even after the boycott has now ended, we're still uplifting Black indies. The fact that I just had Danny on the show, we talked to Rodney, the idea that we're trying to uplift Black creators and keep like that momentum going. I've had multiple Black creators in my DMs the past week and a half from that interview, from those interviews, basically going like, "Hey, can you like pimp our book out?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, there's a lot of y'all in my line, so I need y'all to like bear with me." But at the same time, there's this desperate desire, kind of like how B said, where there's a lot of folks who are interested in getting into creating their own comic books. They want to create equity, they want to move the space and move the needle and create their own tables because they're dissatisfied with the current populace when it comes to what Marvel and DC are offering. But I tried my best to kinda, like, explain how this works for a lot of individuals because while, yes, Black comic fans have been around since the beginning of everything when it comes to nerd culture, it's still not widely accepted by the culture. It's not fully accepted by everyone. So being a Black nerd is still a new thing that is kind of occurring in society, or just nerds in general being like there because like the MCU brought a lot of folks out of the woodwork. DBZ back in the day was really big for anime fans. But then you think of the fact that a lot of casual fans are just really excited that Black Panther exists, or just really excited that Static Shock exists. So you're sitting there like, okay, those fans are hyped because they were represented in those ways. But then you think about the idea of what about the Black indie comics and things like that. Well, the thing about it is we struggle to get people to read. We can't get people to even read the comics, let alone support indie. That was one thing I even said when DC So White first kicked off, is that the idea of we can't even get brothers and sisters to read. Some people are just satisfied with the representation in media, let alone reading. So the idea of trying to reach people from that aspect is a big issue. They want to feel as if not only do they have accessible to their preference like representation, but it's also this idea of they don't want to feel lesser by having to go build something elsewhere and not be able to stand toe to toe with the Batmans and the Iron Mans, etc.
I 100% agree. And just to kind of piggyback off that, I kind of feel like everybody's at this point to where they want to get whatever entertainment the way that they get their entertainment from, and so some people are going to get it from comics, some people are going to get it from movies, and I feel like because the wider fan base comes from the movie genre, they're not
Mm,
giving, you know, comics a shot as much as I think they should, just because it's an easier preference to go sit down for your 2-hour movie and then be able to talk about that and then go on with your day instead of having to go in every single week and pick up a comic. So a lot of people are going to be more willing to just say, I'm waiting for the movie to come out for something, not knowing that you gotta go support the comic for 10 years, and then hopefully that person that can then pitch it into a movie or TV show. Then so you can hopefully jump onto it and have it become this big overarching thing that becomes invincible one day, you know? Like, you gotta start in those small sections. And like you were saying,
Yeah.
people don't want to start small, unfortunately. They kinda just wanna be like, "Oh, there's the next Black Panther at the movies. There's the next Ace Blade at the movies. There's the next Chew on the TV show," you know? Like, they want that, which I do too, but it's been what, like 10 years that he's been working on Chew, and now he's
Mm,
starting to get the TV show going for that. So, like, it takes time. It really does. And I want more people to go support Black indies. That's kind of what we do here. That's one of the big preferences of what we do. As much as I love the big two, I've been loving my indie stuff even more. My stack for indies are getting larger every single week because there's just so many good indie comic books that are out there. And if people need to gravitate away from the big 2. That's just really what it is. People's eyes just kinda need to be opened up a little bit more to say like, "Hey, like manga, comic books do that too. We have full stories that go for like 5, 10 issues, and then it ends at a volume, and then congratulations, you've read the full story right there. And there's some
mhm.
stories that go on like DBZ for 12 issues, you know, like for 12 volumes. Yet we have the whole setup there. It's the exact same. I just think people view it in a different lens almost.
Right. It's this idea that it's not to say that the black indies are lesser. It's not the idea of them like saying, "Oh no, you're trash." It's the idea of them saying, it feels like it's lesser because it's not up there with the big dogs. And it's like,
Mhm.
then there's that paradox where it's like, well, how do you expect us to grow the equity? How do you expect us to get to that point where we are a big dog? Well, we don't want to have to wait that long. We don't want to be in the muck, in the grime with you and not actually get to like actually have those larger quantities of pictures and things like that. We don't want to have to wait and wait and wait because that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that like why I even kind of brought it up in one of my articles recently is this idea that cis het white dudes have been the default for comic books media in general for decades, hell eons when you want to look at just the society. And there's this idea where it comes down to like white culture and like heteronormative ideas and things like that, they've been able to flourish and have their bad products and things of that nature. But then if black folks release a bad movie or a bad comic book or anything like that, oh, it's woke, it's trash, you shouldn't make any more, period. Not, oh, that was a bad one, go try again. And that's the issue we're seeing a lot of the time is that we can't afford to miss. We can't afford to have a bad like take a L in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of folks are like, we don't want to have to worry about you taking L's. We want the best product possible now. So it's one of those weird paradoxes where it's like, yo, we see you, we appreciate you, but we don't want to invest in you because we want to believe in what's already proven and what's already been through the races. We would rather see DC or Marvel get something for us, not even support you, which is what a lot of the casual fans are going to be like. They're like, we don't want to support a Kickstarter. Why would you support a Kickstarter that might not get funded? Well, you have to fund it to get somewhere. Well, we don't want to believe in that. We don't want to care about that when DC could easily just give us a Mr. Terrific show, even though Mr. Terrific don't got nothing. Like it's that weird paradox.
And that's the other thing for me, because I also feel like that question poses it more towards the Black community of being like, "Why don't you guys support more of, like, the Black stuff?" And when I hate to say it, I feel like we do. I look around and I see majority of Black people are always trying to stretch their dollar to help out, like, the, other Black people. When I'm
Mm,
buying my bonnets, I try to buy Black-owned bonnets. When I go and get my hair done, I don't go to just a regular, salon. I try to go look for somebody who I know is going to be able to work with my C-type hair, like everybody's trying to like stretch their dollar amount out when it comes down to that. And so when it comes down to Black entertainment, it's not just Black entertainment, like especially here in America, it's everyone's entertainment, because a lot of the stuff that you see that gets popularized nowadays and stuff like that originated from some type of Black entertainment that came out in the 2000s. And then before that, it ended up coming out in the 1980s and all that other jazz. It's this constant back and forth of figuring out what goes into this. realm of what entertains us and all of that other jazz. And so maybe if white people kind of just jump on a little bit quicker, we wouldn't be having this conversation like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because like I understand the position that a lot of these different like black folks are in because they're like, oh, we need you to join the operation now so we can get to where white folks are at. It's like it goes back to this idea that because of the heteronormativity we've been imprinted on to just want the Spider-Mans and the Supermans and the Batmans, we don't want to believe in a unproven product. It's this idea of why should we have to go through the rigmarole just to get somewhere when we could just go keep supporting the white shit? Why should we have to do like it's that it is this weird like it really is just a paradox. It literally is this like there really isn't a solution other than get on board and tough it out. It's like that TikTok audio where that's been going around where like you hear the slap and the verse is like, "You're not gonna bitch, you're not gonna moan, you're gonna get on board." It's like it's one of those things that you gotta have to do where it's like you have to be on board with the hustle. Otherwise, why want representation? And someone even tried to they tried to like go on to what I was saying, and I forget like they quoted it earlier, and I want to share this because I was sitting here like, huh, that's an interesting way to go about it because they said we're using the word representation when we mean recognition. We want black like characters and creators to be recognized as equal in the greater worldwide fandom. Indie books solve the problem of representation, but aren't built to solve the problem of recognition. Selling independent work is hard, art, lit, music, etc. You are likely to be unsuccessful at it, whether black or not. Creators shouldn't make the mistake of thinking calls for building and supporting our own are a sign of great demand for indie books. It's still wanting to identify with a cultural event as big as Disney, Marvel, or DC and have the world recognize it. Remember, sinners. That's the and the thing about it is, I think representation still stands when it comes to this. I recognition for sure, most definitely, but representation is still a factor because it kind of goes to what the philosophy has been when it comes to DC So White as well. Is the idea of we've said, hey, there's no reason why after 50 some years, Black Lightning only has 41 issues. And like the fact that we're going on 2 years without a Black Panther ongoing, despite Black Panther's success financially with the movies. Like it's this idea that we are not seen as culturally um successful. We're not seen as culturally viable. We're not seen as equals when it comes to the Batmans and the Supermans, etc. So that's what it also is. There's something to be said about equity, but there's also something to be said about equity within the realms that are available. Where it's like, hey, I love me some Ace Blade. I love me some Philadelphia. I love me some Bitter Root or like different books like that. But at the same time, I would really love if DC could have a black character or a queer character or a Spanish character. So it's this idea of we don't like a lot. I would say we because I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna support the shit regardless. But it like there's something to be said about how some people don't even think Milestone as culturally impactful as Milestone was, people still don't think Milestone was that impactful or that it matters because it needed the white dollar of DC and the white resources of DC to be profitable, to be acceptable, to reach a wider audience. So that's also a catch 22 for a lot of individuals where it's like black folks don't understand that without the white resources at that time, Milestone wouldn't have got where it got. And some people go, well, what if Dwayne and all them would have went to Image and made a studio at Image? And it's like, do you see any other black folks trying that right now? Do you see a black studio at Image? Because I would love a black studio at Image. So it genuinely is one of those situations where it's like like it really is just the ultimate paradox where it's like sometimes you got to lean on certain things to get somewhere, but it's also like, hey, we want representation in some aspect.
And that's the whole premise as to where I like the idea about it because, I love being able to be seen in whatever media that I'm ingesting. But there's those particular types of medias that make the billions and make the millions of dollars that are constantly there that have that lacking in representation there that, like he said, isn't just for blacks, that are also for our Asian community, that's also for our Hispanic community. Because I'm still waiting on my Blue Beetle. I'm still waiting on my second Blue Beetle movie, and I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. Because the first one was a banger. The first one was, I feel like the first one got rated better than the Supergirl movie, and they still haven't jumped on that, and that
Mhm.
disappoints me, you know?
Very true. It's very interesting. So, like, but we will be keeping up with this. We'll definitely be having more of a conversation because I'm definitely gonna write an op-ed about it because it is it's complicated. It's very complicated, and it's one of those situations where it's never going to have a true solution because there was somebody who was frustrated that I hadn't got to them on my list of different black indies to reach out to. They're like, "Oh, you so worried about DC and Marvel? Why aren't you pimping my book?" And it's like, because do you know how much stuff that I juggle? Like, I have to work a 9 to 5 because I don't just make content all day. I work in HVAC. I do a 9 to 5. Then I come home and then I read if I have time, or I make videos about relevant topics. I do unboxings. I do things of that nature because I've been trying to make more content and things of that nature. I do interviews, things like that. I have to clean my house and actually manage my own self care. So it's like when people are so like, oh, well, you should figure it out. You should get to everybody. You gonna do it for me? You gonna help me out?
I
So
mean, if
it's one of
people
those.
just wanna
Yeah.
start throwing money our way so we don't have to work a job and we can put more time to this, I mean, like, I ain't gonna say no. I ain't gonna say no to that, just saying.
It's funny too because there was one person was like, "Hey, what do you charge for indie spotlight?" And I'm like, "I don't charge nobody for shit. But if you try to pay me, I'm not gonna say no." Like,
Right? It might just boost you to the front of the list a little bit quicker.
that's not to come off like disingenuous, but you got a lot of shit to say for somebody who's wanting me to do some shit for free. So it's real interesting when everyone wants to have their hand out and be salty about some shit. But when I'm over here trying to say that I can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, because I'm over here trying like because there's been people who are like, man, JP, you should make your own comic book, or JP, you should like make YouTube videos and have longer video essays. It's like, brother, I ain't got time. Like, what do you mean? I don't have time for shit. Like, do you realize how frustrating it is where you're like where it's like, bro, I drove to Cleveland yesterday to meet Bendis. Like, shout out to me, I got my hip hop Miles Morales signed. Like, the
Exactly.
like I can't have time for every little damn thing. It's frustrating when people think that you just have every minute of the world and need to go, yes, I will devote everything to you. And sometimes, and I'm even, you know what? I'm about to do something real controversial here. I'm gonna throw a bone to Comics Explained, and that's gonna be real wild on this one because where I will say that I defer from Rob, and I will actually like make time and be there for the indie developers, the indie creators, and things like that. That brother says, you know what? I got to be there for the clicks because I do this as my full time job. So the clicks have to move. But a lot of the time, not everyone's keen to really mess with our indie spotlights. Not everyone's wanting to move on that stuff. And that doesn't say there's something wrong with the people who are craving representation. It's the idea that maybe they just didn't resonate with your books. That was another part of this where someone posted this like this image on Facebook and a couple different black comic Facebook groups. People were like, what if we just didn't like your shit? What if we didn't like your book? What if we didn't like the art? The story didn't resonate with us? What if we just didn't like it or are not interested in your work compared to the big two or compared to other black books? Maybe we're not interested. Eh.
And listen, there's and I don't mean to talk bad on any creators, but there are some new people that are starting to work on their writing that's out there, and I can tell it's your first book. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, it's your first book. You got to get something out there that's going to get more engaging, that's going to have a little more, what is the word, je ne sais quoi that they like to throw around, that's really going to hook
Mm.
somebody in. But like, if it's your first book, though, still be proud of it. Still be one of those things that are like, hey, this is what I worked on, and this is just step one of what I'm doing.
Oh, for
Because,
sure.
we may not like issue one, we may not like issue five, but you might do something on issue 10, and then congratulations, you've hooked a whole bunch of people in. You got to keep
Hmm.
elevating on what you're working on just because. We don't like it at first, don't mean we ain't gonna come back a little bit later. But also, don't be butthurt if we didn't like it at first, because you're new to this, we're new to this. We guarantee we're still growing and changing things up on this podcast as it goes too. So you got to
Yeah.
keep playing with the game.
So you pretty much just expressed it very well because and like that's one thing that I'm probably gonna like make as part of like the like frequently asked questions when some people are really at it where it's like maybe like don't be upset if I choose not to cover your book if I just don't like it because I do have a stipulation of it. There's AI. I ain't messing with you. There's going to be also a thing of I'm not going to make a video spotlighting this if it just wasn't enjoyable to me because how back-ended does that look of hey I didn't like it but maybe you might like it just that doesn't it don't work it don't work so I'm gonna say Jay Craig asked in the chat, do y'all think black customers are harsher on black indie books than they are on big two or mainstream comics? Big two can put out bad books, but people won't dismiss them. So I would say, this is kind of, we talked about this a little bit ago. I would say yes, because the fact that they don't want to have to suffer through the lower grade stuff. They don't want to see it as poor quality. They don't want to have to be like, hey, why can't we have the freaking I don't want to say Alex Ross because Alex Ross is too high on the totem pole, but like why can't we have the Dan Moores and the Jorge Jimenezes and things like that? Where are those hardworking artists that are making quality stuff? Or where's the top tier writers and stuff like that? Why do we have to have lesser quality in our eyes? I'm speaking on the behalf of black fans, where they perceive it as lesser quality just because we want representation is that idea. So they're going to view it from a very hypercritical lens because they want the same level of quality that white fans have that they've worked and grilled and gotten through and had the trials and errors and things like that. They've worked their way up to the idea of a best of the best of the best, sir, with honors type best of Men in Black type joke. Like it's like that.
The best way that I kind of more see it is for the mainstream, they're willing to stay on it longer, even if it's not as good, just because they're hoping to, maybe we'll get another Miles Morales, maybe we'll eventually get another Black Panther. Versus when they're criticizing indie, I feel like they're going to be more nitpicky on how the writing is, how the looks come out to being for the artwork, just because it's new and it's different to what they're used to at that point. But I don't think there's one that's harsher than the other. I just think it's how the difference in which we, like, approach it is the best way that I can describe it. Because I feel like
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more harsh on DC and Marvel's writing and the way that they, like, portray characters than I am on indie books, but then once I start reading indie books, I try to make it very clear that, like, if somebody of a not the melanin type that I am is writing a black story, I'm gonna be on top of that to make sure that they're
Mm.
not, trying to slide any, like, crass jokes into there or something like that, and then I'm gonna be supporting that, you know? And so there's those difference of how you're gonna look at things.
Yeah, I still think there is a bit of hypercriticalness to it because, like, now granted, I will admit I'm very harsh when it comes to like DC and Marvel and stuff like that because I expect them to be on their A game. But I don't want to. I don't want to say people should let Black indies or indies period play with the net down. I don't think that's a logical statement to have. I think there should be a little bit more openness to trial and error because not everyone's first comic is going to be the best thing ever. But at the same time, I would challenge people to not like different indie comic creators to not be so upset if folks aren't willing to come support you off rip because who are you, random person with a Kickstarter? Like, do you know how many Kickstarters are on that platform under the comics tab right now?
I
Do
am
you know
scrolling through that thing nightly, and I cannot fund enough of those Kickstarters. I don't have the money for it. I wish I could.
look at this. There are so many, and like this isn't even just black shit. This is white shit. There's pin up Pokemon references. There's all kinds of different books that you can fund right now that are like 19 days left, 20 days left, 3 days left. all these different comic books that you can fund right now on Kickstarter. And you're telling me that everyone should drop their dollar. And granted, like this even goes back to a joke I made back during tax season, where it was like, dang, all y'all really want my dollar right now? And it was like, oh well, we know everyone just got their tax returns. Well, not everyone's gonna be able to give you your tax return. Like it's very much one of those situations where you see a lot of folks dropping Kickstarters at the same time. It's like, do you think everyone's made of money? And a lot of the times it'd be those people that have like 50, 60, 100 to 200 level tiers, and then they're mad when their book doesn't get funded. And it's like, brother, I could go get a $5 book from the comic shop versus and have that in my hand right then compared to supporting your Kickstarter that's going to take what months to get to me. A lot of these Kickstarters that are out right now, like Danny said, that his Kickstarter is going to have the books out potentially by November or December. And even with the comics Wellspring delays, maybe longer now. So it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, maybe let's think a little bit before pulling a trigger. Maybe let's think a little bit before judgment because there's a lot of stuff here that looks good, but maybe not everyone has the ability to invest that much money. It's kind of like how I even make the reference to how DC should care more about trade paperbacks because a single issue which is $5 versus a trade that is 6 or 7 issues, there's gonna be not only the meme, but also the idea of like there's more quality to what they're like getting out of a $20 purchase versus a $5 purchase.
And I
So
really
yeah.
wish they would do the trade paperback more because for one, you're getting the extra covers in there. You're sometimes getting some more extra background stuff that happens and some letters that the editors always like to write out in those trade paperbacks, and it makes it worth it. Like that's kind of the premise of like why I like to collect comics and trade paperbacks. You're getting a little bit of both there. You're getting all of that extra information. And if they were to do the 1,000 tier list, that intimidates me as somebody who does
Mm,
Kickstarters. You know, I look at that and I go, I don't even know if I which one I wanna pick because you got a $5 one, you got a $10 one, a $99 one, a $150 one, then you guys go
mhm,
back down and do a $50 one, like, it gets intimidating. I like the idea of, like, $10 for the physical version because I understand you guys are online, you need to get shipping out and everything like that, but, like, you don't need to go all hawk wild and everything like that. I like the extra tier subs, like, after you guys have gotten funded, be like, "Oh, we're gonna do some pins, we're gonna do some posters," stuff like that. I love that idea, but
mhm.
there's so much to Kickstarters, it gets intimidating to new
Oop,
fans who are trying to
hold
come
on.
in and help you out and be able to do these kind of things for you guys. Because I would love to spend as much money as I can on you guys, but I also only make so much money with my 2 jobs.
Hell, I work one job, and it's like I'm even gonna be transparent, and it's like, look at what I've already done in the past few months. You got Ace Blade, you got Noir is the New Black, you got the OZ from David Pepos, you have Scion, you have the Exquisite Corpses, you have Tales of Asunder from Stranger Comics, you have Ultimate Oz Universe into the Outer Lands, Fumes Book 2, Monster of Blackenstein, Nighthawk. I actually had to not do Midnight Comics' Kickstarter because of the fact that I was doing so many around that time. Like there's so many Kickstarters that I've been doing recently. Granted, you could say, oh, well, you don't need to do those high tiers. You're right, but there's still rewards that I'm interested in. Some of them, like Noir is the New Black and Tales of Asunder, I had to do the payment plan version of the thing because I wanted the tiers that I wanted. So it's that thing of like, hey, there's also a little bit of transparency needed where it's like, hey, maybe you should like look around you to other people who are doing Kickstarters. Maybe go, hey, maybe I shouldn't launch around now. Maybe I should wait a little bit. There was also other Kickstarters that I had pledged to, like that didn't end up getting through. Like there was the one that like the Captain Diesel's Dojo did for the trade paperback that didn't end up going through that I pledged, but it didn't get funded. So it's one of those situations where it's like there's optics, there's like fear of getting a product that they'll be satisfied by. That's also something that I even tell people as well is that don't make a Kickstarter unless that book is fully done. And like you can say, oh well, we're doing this to fund our artist or our inker or our colorist, but it's like sometimes, brother, you gotta front that yourself to make a book because what if you want to send that out to creators to potentially get people to be on board with your book? Like at that point, it's like if you don't
Yep,
have a
I
product, how are people gonna have faith in it?
Yep, I just recently had a dude, he printed out like 10 of his issues and then just took them to comic book shops and were like, "Hey, could you guys review this? And then if you're interested in it, would you guys be willing to buy some of my comics to sell here in your store?" You know, like there's going to be small things that you're going to have to do to try to get that advertisement out there. One of the biggest things too is connecting with like JP as an example. He's great at being able to just talk to people and be like, "Hey, here's something about this book. Here's something about this book. Here's something about this book." And it's a little rapid fire, but that's why it's online. You can go back and listen to it and be like, this is what he was talking about. Okay, let me go research that. Let me go look into that. You know, there's so many different avenues in which you can do these things and come out as a creator to help out, that you shouldn't be bummed that if your like Kickstarter doesn't start off at the first time, because I just came across the unofficial Minecraft one that ended up failing too. That
Mm,
person's going back to the drawing board and they're like, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm not gonna let this motivation keep me down. Just because my Kickstarter failed now, don't mean it's gonna fail in a year from now, whenever they've gotten a bigger audience and they've been
yeah.
talking about it a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, so it's very much one of those things where it's like, don't feel as if like black fans are wrong for that. Like for not supporting your work. Maybe it's just there's the feeling of feeling lesser because they have to go to a different platform instead of a comic book shop or online or a TV show or a movie. There's the idea of believing in your product because it isn't a surefire thing. And there's like, what if they, like a perfect example is what if they don't believe me or B or Blur Without Fear or anybody else if they review your product and even and believe in what you're putting out. Like, imagine somebody like bought Ace Blade number 10. They pledged to it, they got it, and they're like, this is shit. I personally didn't like it. This person that is in that mode. What if they didn't like it and they were sour and they said, I'm never funding a Kickstarter ever again? That's gonna make them look real stupid as if they believed in that and it didn't go well, and it's just, well, what you gonna do? So it's just it's real awkward in those kind of situations, and I feel like there needs to be an understanding that while in that paradox, it isn't disrespectful on the part of the fans. It's this the desire of feeling as if they matter, and it's not the idea of them feeling as if you don't matter. It's that they want themselves to matter and feel like they're equal to others. So that's just our 2 cents in regards to that. What was the other thing I want to talk about tonight? Oh, yes. So there was one there's 2 other topics we're gonna cover tonight. The first one that is ringing alarm bells in my head. I didn't tell B about this one, but there has been the conversation as of late. I know B seen my videos and I've been talking about this. There's the idea of digital versus physical. There was the concern from a lot of individuals about Sony ending physical sales in 2028. And a lot of people are concerned about that and thought it would matter in terms of comic books. We talked about this the past few weeks. I brought it up in a video this past week, and a lot of people were like, what do you mean digital does matter and things like that? Digital doesn't matter in the eyes of sales for when it comes to the publishers right now. However, this came out and a lot of people are concerned because Image has now begun to not offer same day as physical releases digitally on Global Comics. Global Comics is a well-known digital platform. They have an app, they have a subscription service to read older books, kind of like Marvel Unlimited and DC Infinite. And it was understood that like the Image and Global Comics were in a 3-year partnership, but that seemingly has come to a close. And people are finding that new releases for things like Power Fantasy and Dork and things like that are not appearing on the app the same day as they are released physically. But where you can find them is on Sweet Shop. Sweet Shop, we previously interviewed the creator of Sweet Shop, and like Kent, like they came on. It was a great time. And the issue with that is this is now the first time to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but this is the first time that we've seen that a comics publisher has straight up just revoked new release option for a platform and just said the new releases other than like Amazon and Apple Books and Google Books, the new releases are only going to be available through another platform. And I'm sitting here scratching my head going, oh, that's mildly concerning that we are now like playing damn near like like video game exclusives with like digital platforms now. I want your thoughts on this.
So, first off, it concerns me because it makes me think Image is probably trying to create their own app, kind of like Marvel and DC has theirs. There's that possibility there. But
Mhm.
them keeping it over on Whatnot also concerns me because it's going to be one of those like
Whatnot.
Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max kind of
I didn't say
situation.
whatnot. Where'd you get whatnot from,
Sorry,
man?
not Whatnot.
Sweet shop?
The Sweet Shop. Yep, sorry. I was looking at my Whatnot off at the side too. There's a static comic that I'm always looking at, and I'm waiting to see if it's gonna maybe drop from that 30 down to a little bit lower. You never know.
Oh man.
But on Sweet Shop though, to where it feels like it's gonna end up becoming that Netflix, that Hulu, that HBO situation to where like I'm gonna have to go here to watch this. I'm gonna have to go here to watch this. And I don't feel like that's the good thing for Image because when Image started, it was basically like we're trying to do everything that the big two's not almost, and we're trying to be our own publishing company. And now it's starting to feel like I get it, they're a company, they need to make money, but it feels like they're going down that route of the big two instead of allowing it to be more of like, here's our indie stuff, here's for everyone. We're supposed to be accessible for everybody. It's almost starting to become that point that it's like, accessible for everybody who can afford this particular space over here. And that's kind of what
Mhm.
we're looking at right now. And it just feel it's another thing that feels icky. It's just one of those things that it's like it's going in the wrong direction. We don't need to be seeing that. You were supposed to be more accessible for comic books. We want more people reading comic books. So taking it away, it's very scary. Very scary stuff.
Mhm. Like it's one of those situations where it's like, ooh, what are we doing here? Because like, don't get me wrong, I love Sweet Shop. I'm in the beta. I think it's a great app. I kind of need them to get guided reading going on because the scroll format's cool and all, but I like my panel to panel movements if you catch my drift. But like they're not really focused on that. They're more worried about like the overall UI, which is fine, no big deal. Like not everyone's on that. Like they're working on other features and things like that. But I would say there's just a lot of concern with this where it's like what if Vault Comics says they're only going to be with Neon Ichiban? Hell, Boom isn't with anybody other than Amazon, which is still something that I'm constantly concerned about. Like, why isn't Boom trying to work with other like apps? Like, there's this idea where publishers are trying to play almost like Sony and Xbox level politics, where it's like, oh, we'll have Call of Duty over here, and Horizon Zero Dawn over there, and this like that, and PC over here, and this that is like, why can't we just read comics, y'all? Why we gotta mix it up and have weird situations? So it's very interesting that like this has happened. And the thing about it too is Global Comics and Image haven't released a statement about this. The article even states that this was just something that was noticed, and Sweet Shop did issue a statement saying that they're the new home for like they said, just to clarify, Sweet doesn't have exclusivity deal with Image, but we are the only new store right now with day and date Image releases. So it's not that there's exclusivity, but it's also like, huh, that's interesting. That's the play there. So I I'm very interested to see how this develops, but I also am like worried that this could spell like different apps are gonna have different things, and you'll have to go here to have this library and this to have this library, rather than just choosing a platform and just wanting to support one platform. Because truth be told, I'm at a point where if someone offers me a whole platform for every publisher that isn't Amazon, I'm more inclined to mess with them. Like I love Neon Ichiban. I think Neon Ichiban's great. I have said that once Sweet Shop gets Marvel and DC, I'm probably gonna abandon Neon Ichiban because I like the fact that the Sweet Shop has all these plans to do more right by the industry. So that is just me. But other people may feel differently and they should be allowed to go to what platforms they want. Because what if someone already has image books they've bought on Global Comics? And now, like, say if you had subscribed to Dork, you were buying Dork 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then 5 and 6 come out and you just can't get those on Global Comics no more.
That's one of my biggest concerns about this online industry is to where at any moment these publishers can say, "I'm done with this company," and then what happens to your comic books then? You know? That's why I think I always push physical so hard, even though, read wherever you can, because that's the most important part. If you're reading, you're reading. I don't care where you're reading from. But just remember, if you find one of those stories that you just absolutely love and you really want to go support it, it's better to have that in the physical version because then you know you at least got it.
Mhm. So it's real interesting, and we're gonna have to see how the fallout of this occurs. But keep an eye on that. Let me know what you guys think about that on social media because I'm sitting here like, oh no. The last thing that I want to talk about that I'm really concerned about for the future of retailer exclusive variants. So I want to preface this because Bleeding Cool dropped this today. However, I reached out to not only B, because B works at a comic shop, but also to a couple other comic shop workers and owners, and they have said that this has not been released to the public to their knowledge. They have not received it from DC, but apparently, coming from Bleeding Cool, and I even tried to reach out to Rich and see where he got this from, and Rich hasn't got back to me. But the article is saying that DC has issued new terms and conditions for retailers when it comes to commissioning retailer exclusive variants, specifically because of what's been going on with Absolute Batman when it comes to a large amount of their retailer exclusive variants being sold way above MSRP. And the argument has been when it comes to this that a lot of the time it comes down to, well, the shop is trying to recoup the cost of the retailer exclusive version because you have to buy a minimum of the cover to be eligible for that. So that's part of what some shops have said to justify like selling the books at a higher cost. There was even some people, like we said on the last episode, that had beef with the Ink Alliance selling the new Titans variant for $30. And that is them trying to recoup the cost of what's been going on with this retailer exclusive variant. But there's also just the straight up just price gouging that has been going on with certain absolute Batman variants where like it's ranging up into like the hundreds of dollars in some cases. So now the like terms and conditions are like saying that they strongly advise not to do some practices where it could potentially result in banning from exclusive variant covers. And B, I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm sitting here like, huh, if this is how we're moving forward, where ironically you can go on Whatnot and place bids for retailer exclusive variants, because that's one thing too, is that a lot of comic book retailers are trying to get into the Whatnot game and be on Whatnot, be a part of Whatnot, and it's like, huh,
And
that's
that's the
concerning.
scary thing right there is to where, like, if they're just going to order these retail variants and get them at their shops and then just be like, all right, I'm not going to sell it at my shop then. I'll just go on to Whatnot. I'll go on to Amazon. I'll go on to eBay and I'll sell them there. And people will bid about it and they'll get more money for it. And for me, I ultimately feel like it should go to the money of the shops because
Mm,
if you support your shop, if you're getting variants from your shop, those are the people who are trying to support their local and support all that fun jazz. And as long as the shops obviously aren't trying to do this outrageous, like $1,000 price for a comic book, or even like, the 100 to 150 feels outrageous to me, but that's also like because Batman gets overblown so much, Like I would be fine if a comic book was $50, $80. I've seen like Berserkers go for like I think it was 95 when it was CGC'd at some shops around my area. That's fine. That's okay, like, if shops gotta play with their money a little bit because it ranges so much. They've bought comic
mhm.
books that were, like, what, 265 or 250 forever ago, and now they're just $5 comics now. I don't see people complaining about that because it's only a $2.50 raise,
Yeah.
When it comes to the exclusivity, people kind of need to get over that because I've missed exclusive covers. Everybody's missed exclusive covers. You're going to miss an exclusive cover because nobody has that much money to buy every single cover that's going on, you know? That's why you got to find the artists that you like, you got to find the writers that you like, and you support them. You get behind them, and congratulations, you're going to have an extra $50 if you end up dropping some books that you just weren't even reading in the first place, too.
Mhm. Like, here's the one thing that I'm kinda worried about. There's a part of this that's specified in it. I wanna find the language where it says this because Rich does talks about it, but he doesn't show where it happened. So the new rule that is being put into this that's rolling out is saying to ensure accuracy and manage of deadlines. All communication with the selected artist regarding the variants must go through DC. Retailer shall not provide any editorial direction to the artist for the variants without DC's prior written approval of any such direction. And this feels, as B put it earlier, icky because this feels like, and I don't want to like speculate or say anything to like put words in DC's mouth because I don't know how DC operates. I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. I'm gonna keep it a whole omnibus. But as we previously talked about, there was already another retailer variant that was announced that we already talked about. That was announced recently that looks really much like the retailers and the artist worked in tandem to make this happen. And like this feels like the culture was taken seriously for the first time by DC with this cover, and I don't want to put words in DC's mouth. I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna do that. But the language, the way that's phrased in that piece, feels like they want to prevent stuff like this cover, where they want to be the ones who control what is approved and what editorial ideas are passed on. And I'm a little worried that this whole thing is announced, or not announced, but even leaked right after this cover is brought out. Like, I don't want to say this is why DC's doing it. I'm saying this feels like really weird timing. Am I wrong for feeling like that?
Honestly not, especially, like, going through just the history of DC from, like, Milestone alone when they had that whole controversy with, like, the static cover and stuff like that. I can tell
Mhm,
DC constantly wants to have control over their, like, this is what they see in the comic book store, this is how things are presented and stuff like that. And it just kinda in my mind, it feels like overreaching because
mm,
I feel like I feel like comic book shops should be able to get an exclusive cover, and as long as it's not the most outrageous thing in the world, like they're putting Black Canary topless or something like that, you should
mm.
be okay with it, you know?
Right,
Like
yeah, for
there's
sure.
gonna be lines, obviously, but
Yeah,
there's no reason that DC should try to have that much control of being like, the artist must talk to us and not go through the retailers
right.
because if you
Especially if
go
they
through
have
the
a
retailers,
relationship
we're
with that artist already.
exactly, exactly. Because there's some just local artists that are like, "I just wanna give stuff out to my local community. I wanna give it out to the people who helped start me off when I was going to the Comic-Con here in Salt Lake City," you know? Like, I would love that. I would love to see that, but this is going to then stop that artist from being able to grow the community here and have a wider range of comic book readers then, who
Yeah.
then would jump onto more DC stuff because they got an exclusive cover once, you know? Like,
Mm.
it really stifles the growth of the comic book industry when they do stuff like this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I will say Jay Craig put it in the chat. He's like, I'm not paying over $100 for a variant cover from a living working artist whose books are still in stock. And I definitely get where they're coming from with this because it do be kind of crazy that on whatnot they're like, oh, like they're bidding to over $100. Now I will say I have more lenience when it comes to this, when it comes to the shop doing it versus like a third party doing it. Like, say if someone went into a shop, grabbed a cover, and then put it up on whatnot at a higher rate, that's scummy. And I don't get down with a get down with that. But if it's like 30, 20, like 20, 30, $50, that I'm like, you know what? You're trying to recoup some cost. I'm not gonna judge you, but I'm also like that. I feel it feels bad for like the little kid who really just likes Static that ain't gonna be able to afford that book. So it's kind of like it feels grimy, but I understand why you're doing it, if that makes sense. Well, that's just that's just our little 2 cents. We'll have to see how this develops. I don't wanna put too much funk on DC and think they're the one like, that's the reason why they're doing this, but we will just have to wait and see. But overall, this is one of those situations where it's like, we just gotta see what goes down. We gotta get down with the get down. Hopefully, this doesn't have too many ramifications, and that these new rules are mostly there to stop bad actors, not to stifle the creativity. And I might even ask, like the Ink Alliance comic shop retailers tomorrow about this and get their thoughts because they'll be episode 55. Like I'm gonna get their thoughts on this. But I'm also just kind of sitting here like, feels kind of weirdly timed. But we'll definitely have to play ball and see how that goes. There was one. I thought I saw something in the comments there, but I must have been wrong. But all right. So, B, what are you picking up at the comic shop this coming Wednesday, good sir?
So this Wednesday, it is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Kyoshi Warriors issue number 3, and Of Earth issue number 3, and
Mm,
Minotaur issue number 1 is coming out.
okay. For me, we have New Titans issue number 37, which apparently is going to be the first issue where Static is going to be featured. So, like, that is going to be awesome. I'm also going to be picking up Avengers Armageddon because I'm going to be covering that on my YouTube channel here soon. Because I'm sitting here like, what the heck is Jeff freaking Chip Zdarsky doing? I'm really confused. There's also Fall of House of Slaughter number 3. There is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 2 because I don't want to abandon Marguerite Bennett just yet. I want to see if she can, she can straighten the course out and make this be a good book. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then Murder Podcast number 8 comes out. I also there was one other book, the Rascal Randy trading card variant got delayed until this coming week. So I will be picking that up. I will also have a video coming out about Rascal Randy coming out soon. So definitely look out for that. But we are gonna go ahead and wrap up this show, folks. B, what is your closing statement for issue number 54?
I gotta make sure we keep it normal. Touch grass, drink water. Make sure you read a comic this week and then breathe some fresh air. That involves
Mm,
touching grass as well, but if you can do the combination of the two, it's like chewing gum and walking at the same time. I'm pretty sure
mm,
we can all do this week, guys. We'll make it through it and we'll have another comic book week next week too.
most definitely, most definitely. For me, I just feel like more folks need to just get along. I feel like more people need to stop thinking everybody is out to get them in certain circumstances. I feel like a lot more people need to be willing to hear folks out when it comes to certain things and not think it broke my heart to see so many black indie folks just be like, oh, black fans don't actually care about comic books. It's like, are you sure about that? And I feel like there's this misunderstanding from a lot of folks that like think that we don't actually care about certain things. So I'm hoping the conversation can continue. I'm hoping like things can keep evolving and whatnot. But I'm also just kind of sitting here like, this is awkward. Man, I feel like the paradox isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And I feel like people need to just be down to get down with the get down, but we will definitely be keeping an eye on things. The next few weeks are going to be very exciting because we are a week and a half. Actually, no, a week and a half out from San Diego Comic Con. The 26th Sunday is which is not next week, but the week after is going to be a show not to miss because we will be talking about all of the San Diego Comic Con announcements. They are going to be nutty, I'm sure. I have some information about some of them, but I can't talk about it. So get excited for those, get hyped, and it's going to be a great time over the next few weeks, folks. But we will be back next week for a brand new episode, episode 56. It's going to be insane. But we will catch y'all next time. Peace out.